Representative Stamler. By the way, Jerry, this microphone's great. So far.
There you go, sorry.
Ann Stamler, District 5. Mr. Moderator, I would like to make a motion to amend the minutes of August 26, 2013, the discussion of item number 3, which is on page 2. I would like to amend 2 sentences. The first is the sentence that starts, motion, A. Stamler moved. I would like to replace, my paper's in my hand. I would like to replace that sentence with the following. A. Stamler offered a friendly amendment to explicitly waive for this item the portion of Rule 32 which states, all proposed ordinances shall initially be referred to the Committee on Legislation and Administration, and thereafter to any appropriate standing or special committee as referred by the moderator for consideration. Representative Bateson accepted the friendly amendment, duly seconded. So what I've just read would replace the entire sentence that begins, motion A. Stamler moved.
Go ahead.
The second portion of this proposed amendment is to replace the sentence that begins, vote. The motion to waive Rule 32 would replace that sentence with the following. Vote. The motion to waive for this item the portion of Rule 32 of the RTM Rules to Regulate, which states, all proposed ordinances shall initially be referred to the Committee on Legislation and Administration, and thereafter to any appropriate standing or special committee as referred by the moderator for consideration, was approved with 36 in favor and 1 opposed. Schwartz. The purpose of these 2 amendments is simply to reflect in words on the record exactly that we waived the reading by legislation and administration and the referral by the moderator to other committees.
Which was clearly explained
Which
at
was
that
clearly
meeting.
explained at the time. This is simply to reflect that on the record.
Do I have a second on that motion? Representative Bateson. Any discussion on the changes to the meeting minutes from August 26? Okay, hearing none, we're now going to vote on the changes to the minutes as amended, or we're going to vote on the minutes as amended. Should need to vote on the amendment, don't we, Betsy? Vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Representative McAleese, abstention. Motion passes. Now we have the amended minutes in front of us for both meetings. Further discussion on the amended minutes? Okay, we're going to go to a vote on the amended minutes. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Meeting minutes pass. Go to item number 3 now, which is to consider and act upon the following reappointments to the Town Facilities Commission as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Donald C. DiMartino, Republican, 84 Sunset Circle, term July 2013 to 2016. Terry F. Leopold, unaffiliated, 146 Coleman Road, term July 2013-2016. Richard A. Special, Republican, 112 Homestead Lane, term July 2013 to 2016. Now, do I have a motion to approve? Representative Mottola, second Representative Dean. Now, I know the meeting minutes were sent to you today rather late. They were given to me this morning. I did not have time to put them all together by vote, by committee for 19 items. So you have the meeting minutes, and therefore, I'm not going to read every vote I think we can get by because most of these were unanimous. There is nothing on consent. There was no Public Works and Planning quorum, so therefore nothing on consent, and I think many of these were somewhat unanimous anyway. So we're just going to proceed for the discussion since you all got the meeting minutes. We're now going to have discussion among the body on these three appointees. Any discussion? Any comments from the public? Okay, now we're going to vote on item number 3. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Representative Meyer. Congratulations, everyone, on your appointments, reappointments. Are any of the 3 here? I'm sorry. Okay, well, congratulations on TV. Jerry, this microphone's great. I can't tell you. Item number 4, to consider and act upon the following appointment to the Town Facilities Commission as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Kimberly L. Marshall, Democrat, 180 Brook Bend Road, term July 2013 to 2016. May I have a motion to approve? Representative Hochberg, Representative Mirabili, second. We're now going to have discussion among the body. Is there any discussion? Wow, you guys want to get out of here. Any members of the public, comments? Okay. Is Ms. Marshall here? No. Okay. We're now going to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Representative Meyer. Congratulations, Ms. Marshall, if you're watching on TV. Item number 5, to consider and act upon the following appointment to the Riverfield Elementary School Building Committee as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. William T. McDonald, Republican, 288 Adley Road, to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Dorothy D'Amica. May I have a motion to approve? Representative, let's choose one. Representative Fellner. Representative Marks, second. Discussion among the body. Any comments from the public? Is Mr. McDonald here tonight? Okay, we're now going to come back to the body for a vote. All those in favor of voting for Mr. McDonald say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. McDonald. You guys are making my life easy tonight. Item number 6, to consider and act upon the following reappointments to the Ethics Commission as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Martha S. Brooks, Democrat, 1821 Jennings Road, term July 2013 to 2015. Thomas J. Drew, Democrat, 151 Blue Ridge Road, term July 2013 to 2015. And David P. Schmidt, Republican, 61 Partridge Lane, term July 2013 to 2015. May I have a motion to approve? Representative Braun, a second. Representative Smay. Are any of the 3 here? Is Mr. Drew here? Mr. Drew is here. I don't believe he was able to attend the committee meetings. So now I'm going to open it to the body for discussion. And certainly, Mr. Drew, if anyone has any questions here, please ask Mr. Drew. You're welcome to. Yep, Representative Bateson.
Ed Bateson, District 3. Hi, Tom. If you could just come on up and give us a short history of yourself for the benefit of people that don't know you like the rest of us do. And tell us why you're interested.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you for considering this reappointment. Let's see, my background, I've been an attorney for about 30 years. I used to be a CPA, but I'm non-practicing. As far as public service, I served on this body for, I guess I was elected twice, served for a year and a half. Then I was a state representative for 3 terms. And I think that's a little bit of background, Ed. And my interest in being appointed to this body is I am very passionate about public service. I appreciate the opportunity to be appointed and to serve, and particularly the Ethics Commission. I think having integrity in government really goes to the core of having a successful community in town. Without that integrity, it kind of really doesn't matter in some respects how many benefits and resources you may have. That community really can falter. So I think it's integrity in government is very fundamental.
Thank you. That's great. Any questions for Mr. Drew? Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion? Any comments from the public on all three, or any of the three? All right. We're going to come back now, vote on this item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations, and thank you, Mr. Drew, for coming tonight. Item number 7, to hear, consider, and act upon the following appointment to the Historic District Commission as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Margaret Browning Kufferman, unaffiliated, 877 Westport Turnpike, term November 2010 to 2015, to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Peter Petron. May I have a motion to approve? Representative Marmion, a second. Representative Marks. Is Margaret here tonight? No. Okay. Discussion on item number 7. Any comments from members of the public? Okay. Now we're going to come back to the body and vote. All those in favor of item number 7, say aye. 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 Opposed? Abstentions? Carries unanimously. Congratulations, Margaret. Mr. Drew, too, you're welcome to leave at any point. Don't feel obligated to stay, too. Just wanted to give you the release papers, just in case. You're welcome to stay. It's going to be fascinating. Item number 8, to hear, consider, and act upon the following appointment of an alternate to the Historic District Commission as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. John Morgan, Republican, 147 Algonquin Road, term November 2011 to 2016, to replace Margaret Browning Kufferman, who moved to be a full member. May I have a motion to approve? Representative McCullough, a second. Representative Way. Is John here? John is here. That's good. John was not at the Monday meeting. Maybe what you could do is just come up for a moment and say a few words about your appointment and your desires to serve.
Yeah. Hi, I'm John Morgan. My interest really kind of stems from the fact that I'm senior warden at Trinity Episcopal Church in Southport, which is this year celebrating its 150th anniversary, its sesquicentennial, which no one can say. Historic preservation is very dear to us because our first building, our first church was burned by the British. The next one was knocked over by a tornado in the Civil War. We just almost lost it again in Hurricane Sandy. So we're pretty careful at Trinity. And I do have a long interest in history and would greatly like to serve on the committee.
Great. Any questions here for Mr. Morgan? Thank you. Representative Bateson, there's a question.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Just a standard question. I see your affiliation with Trinity. I assume you're going to know a lot of people in Southport Village. I just want to make sure that we see a lot of applicants go before the Historic District Commission out of that area. Want to make sure you're going to have the ability to recuse, judge these independently. It sounds like there's connections there, and I want to make sure that in this position you're serving the town.
Well, there are some connections. I don't live in the neighborhood. I live pretty close to here, as a matter of fact, on Algonquin. And I think that if anything came up that involved a parishioner that I'm close to, I would recuse myself or just not vote.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you. Any discussion on item number 8? Any comments from the public? Okay, we're now going to vote on item number 8. Mr. Morgan, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Morgan, and thank you for coming tonight. You two are released if you want to go at any point, just so you know. No pressure. Items number 9 through 14 have been withdrawn. Just want to let everyone know. Representative McKenzie?
Dave McKenzie, District 3. This was a very meaty subject, took a lot of time in committee, and it involves 6 contracts in very difficult legalese. So I'd like to suggest before we actually vote on these that we get an executive summary, somebody that has plowed through the contracts, boils it down so we can understand it and vote intelligently on it. And in addition, we had a lot of questions that came up that I'd like to submit so that they can be answered in advance. And that way, I think we'll have an informed RTM and you'll get a better vote.
Mike Stanton, is that possible to do? Kind of like the contracts we get from Mary.
Yeah, if you just forward those questions on to me, we'll be happy to make sure they get answered before it gets brought back before this body.
Okay, well, I know specific people who have them. If other people I haven't talked to have them, do it independently. Just send it on to Mike. Thank you.
Why don't we, probably best to come through me, and then I can send them in bulk over. And also there's the issue of the summaries, kind of the recaps of any or all of them, which would be helpful. I think Mr. McKenzie was asking for that as well, to kind of boil it down so it's not 33 pages of reading per contract would be nice. And by the way, if you are going to email them to me, you may all know that I have a new email address, and for those of you who don't know, I'm going to read it. It's jrsteele@optonline.net. So please do not use my old email address that everyone had used. Effective immediately, please. Yes, Representative Bateson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ed Bates in District 3. I just want to clarify to the administration, it's your intent to bring the agreements back next month? Withdraw? Right? That means it's coming back next month?
I don't know if it'll be back next month. The goal will be to bring them back as soon as we can review the issues, get the questions answered, and be comfortable that we've got a complete package for this body.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on items 9 through 14? Okay. So we jump to item number 15, which is to hear. Okay. Representative Bateson, second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? I generally like to read it first time only so the people on TV can hear it, but so it was so moved. All right. So now we're going to have a motion to approve item number 15. Representative Smay. I have a second. Representative Mirabili. Is there any discussion on item number 15 from the body? Representative McCarthy.
Tom McCarthy, District 8. When we first reviewed this in subcommittee, I voted in favor of it because I was accepting Mr. Badoli's explanation on its face, which said this is more a matter of form over function, and functionally this would have no impact on the current organization. But at this point in time, and after thinking about it, I'm not in favor of it, simply because if I were to vote in favor of this and somebody asked me, one of my constituents asked me, for example, why I voted for it, I really couldn't explain it. I don't understand it well enough why we're approving or why we're not approving. And until I'm that comfortable with, I can't support this.
Yes.
We've got Mr. Mr. Bedoli here, who can perhaps give a better summary if you'd like to have that covered again, if that's okay with the body.
I'm fine with it. Representative McCarthy is with... That'd be fine. Okay.
Brian, if you can just give us kind of the executive summary version of this to...
Of course, I am a tall guy.
You may have to move the camera
Yeah,
up.
I could either scooch or you can do this. I get that a lot for some reason. You can hear me all right? Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here again to speak on behalf of this resolution. Essentially, what I'm here tonight for is to seek your endorsement of a resolution our regional council passed. Sorry, can you hear me back there? Okay.
A little bit more into the mic or raise the
Can I
mic.
take it out of here? You do the Bob Barker thing? Here.
Hold on. Jerry's coming down.
Don't do it. Jerry. Oh my gosh, Jerry. Jerry, do I have your vote, Jerry?
Yeah, you got my vote.
All right.
How's that, better?
That sounds great for me. Good? Better? Much better. Okay. All right. Thank you. So yeah, so essentially what I'm seeking is your endorsement of a resolution our council passed to achieve compliance with recent state legislation. The state is working to standardize the organizational structure of regional planning organizations so that they have the chief elected official sitting around the table, as opposed to town-appointed representation. So effectively, this change would convert us from a council of elected officials to a council of governments. See, where it gets kind of awkward is the fact that we already have the chief elected officials sitting around our table. So when I came before you the other night, it was really more of I look at it as administrative in terms of actually the filing designation. Nothing in our structure will change. It's the exact same. We'll wake up tomorrow, it'll be the exact same structure as it is today. It's a semantical issue to achieve compliance with the state regulation. The reason why we need to come before the legislative body is because it's a standard process for the state, whereas some regions throughout the state actually have that town-appointed representation, so it would be a bigger jump for them to come to a new elected official-based board. So that's really the gist of the legislation and our work to maintain compliance with it, and that would be the actual results of this change. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Representative Dean.
Okay, yeah.
Heather, Representative Dean, if you want to come here and ask them, and because the microphone, it's like our height.
Actually, the human height, not.
No, that was a dig on me, not on you. By the way.
I rather enjoy being petite. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. Representative Dean, District 4. Can you explain, and I may be opening a Pandora box, I'm almost afraid to ask this question. Can you explain the impetus, the rationale behind the state wanting to change the wording if it's not really, it's really about procedural and semantics?
Yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward. The state's intention was, moving to a chief elected official, you have a little more accountability and fiscal responsibility. And when they're giving federal and state money to these organizations, they want to make sure there's some sort of elected representative, speaking on behalf of those funds.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Mottola.
Okay.
Okay. John Mottola, District 2. You gave a very good explanation on Monday night of what the organization does, and I guess you weren't here on Wednesday for the other committees. Can you just generally go through what your organization does? That's it.
Thank you. So at the Greater Bridgeport Regional Council, our primary function is transportation planning. So all of the federal and state assistance that comes to the town of Fairfield actually comes through our board for programming. So being involved with our organization gives your town a seat at our table to make these decisions. So in addition to the transportation planning, really we take a holistic approach to it, working with our towns to identify what land uses they want so we could better plan to figure out how to get people to and from the destinations they want to be. So we get involved in other issues like conservation, hazard mitigation, evacuation planning, things that are really it's a lot of technical assistance we offer to the town, in addition to bringing money and grants and federal assistance to the residents and to your town.
Representative Schwartz. There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't say there was.
Can you, this is coming before every legislative body, as I understand it. Are we the last one to pass it, the first one to pass it? Where are we in the process of approvals?
You'll be the
And what
fourth.
other towns are involved in it, please?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you would be, oh yeah, look, you paid attention, that's good. So yeah, this is the fourth town I've been to. The towns of Stratford, Trumbull, and Monroe have passed it. It's currently in the process in Bridgeport, and then I'm going to Easton after here. And that represents our 6 towns. So to read them back again, it's Bridgeport, Easton, Fairfield, Trumbull, Stratford, and Monroe.
Representative Lip.
Jay Lip, RTM District 1. Wanted to ask, with the state changing the legislation, changing the ordering, did that change the responsibility of our fiscal responsibility, anything the town has to do?
Not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Saw a question somewhere. Representative Bateson had. Representative Bates, yep.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ed Bates in District 3. Through you to either the first selectman or town attorney, is there anything in the town charter or town code? Thank you for your explanation. It just seems to me that we're taking an appointed official off and putting you in their place. Say that again?
No, he's already there currently.
He's already there, but we are removing the appointed individual?
No, that was our previous, about 4 years ago, we had the appointed individuals.
Yes.
We've been in a chief elected official format for the past about 3 years, actually. So it's the same.
And how did that happen? Did we approve that?
Yeah, the RTM actually approved that.
3 years ago?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that there's nothing in our charter or code that we're in violation of because there's a position there that's not filled to be at this table. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, as simply as I can say it, it's the same 6 people sitting around the same table in the same building before you vote and after you vote. All right, each town, there's 6 towns, each town gets 1 vote. All right, to give some specifics in terms of the Greater Bridgeport Regional Planning Organization, in terms of some of the things they've done and some of the things you may see. There's a host of things they've done that you may not see or directly attribute to them, but for those of you that took part in the workshop or charrette on the Commerce Drive planning a few years ago. It was Brian and his group that put that together. You'll remember him. He was the tall guy up in front. For those of you that through the budget process, this may have been addressed before it got to the RTM, so I'm not sure it was discussed here. But we did have servers and other hardware equipment in for our GIS system. We took those out as part of the process because the regional group is putting together a GIS system for all 6 towns and will help us literally save real taxpayer money in terms of both the development and the operation of that. In addition, we've had a number of workshops and are developing a flood mitigation plan. Brian's group is helping do that for all 6 towns. Specifically, it forms the foundation of letting us participate in the Community Rating System, or CRS, which is how we can get homeowners in flood zones 5 to 10% discounts on their flood insurance. It also becomes the basis, or what you may have heard about as the flood mitigation plan, that opens up some additional state funding that lets homeowners get as much as 75% reimbursed on the cost of raising their homes. So there's some real money coming back through. Brian's group kind of coordinates all this and is giving some real benefit to the town and taking that plan. And I just mentioned those are not the only things they do. Brian mentioned transportation, a host of other things. I just wanted to mention 3 things that you may have seen visibly to kind of bring home the value of what his group is.
Are there any other questions? I just have a quick question, and obviously there's not much that's going to change, but will Fairfield's influence or authority change at all in terms of this group of 6? Does it get diluted? Is it strengthened? Or is it literally the same?
It's exactly the same. Each town gets one vote, and that's really the beauty of this.
I didn't know
sort
if
of
there's
structure.
anything else that may have affected our
No.
influence or authority.
No.
Okay. Any other questions? Any comments from the public? All right, we're going to now vote on item number 15. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We have Representative Meyer, Representative Mezoff, Representative Pontrelli, and Representative McCullough. Abstentions? Representative Ryan. The item passes, and thank you very much.
Thank you for accommodating me here.
Yes. Item number 16, to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Resolved that in accordance with the request from the Director of Public Works, the commercial property assessed clean energy, quote-unquote, C-PACE agreement between the Town of Fairfield and the Connecticut Clean Energy and Investment Authority is hereby approved, and further resolved that the First Selectman is hereby authorized to execute such agreement on behalf of the Town of Fairfield. Do I have a motion to approve? Representative Dean, a second. Representative Marks. Any discussion on this item? Representative Braun.
I'm definitely in favor of all these green programs. I just want to make sure the town understands the details and it wouldn't end up being that we know what the burden would be on our tax collector. My understanding of the program is it's basically a state program, a new authority which aggregates funds, private or public, which allows commercial real estate owners to upgrade their properties to make them more environmentally efficient. Thank you. And what the town is going to do is basically collect the money from the property owner and simply remit it to the state as part of its tax bill every quarter. So there will be a little bit of burden, which is not paid back, on the tax collector in terms of adding a line item to the bill, recording a lien and a notice. There's certain other reporting requirements, and then if there's ever a tax sale or a foreclosure of a delinquent tax payer, they have to give notice to the state agency, and vice versa. If the state agency decides to foreclose one of the liens because they get assigned over to the state, then they have to notice it. So I assume that would be okay. You could have, basically, if there was a foreclosure, both parties would end up being on the same case. It wouldn't be that burdensome. I just wanted to make sure that we understand that the tax collector will have some work to do, some extra work that would not be reimbursed, and that wouldn't be unduly burdensome, and also that there wouldn't be any restrictions. I don't see anything in the contract, any restriction really on our normal routine way of making decisions on how we collect taxes. It would just be another line item on the tax bill, is what my understanding is.
I think your analysis is pretty much on the mark, but our tax collector's here, and
Right.
with the moderator's permission, I'd ask her to come to the mic to address
Thank you.
it specifically.
Hi, I'm Cinda Buchter. I'm your tax collector. I also have been working with Jessica Bailey, who is the director of CPACE, for about a year. And we have talked about this, and some of the things have changed that you were talking about. One of the things that have changed is that if a property does go delinquent at the end of a year, the lien will be placed, but the collection will be turned over to the state. So it will not be added on to our collection burden. So I would not have to do a tax sale on a property that has a CPACE delinquency. So that's changed. Other than that, it's like a special assessment. All of you are aware that you have had sewer assessments in the past. Each one of these properties will be treated just like a sewer assessment. It will have an individual type, it will have an individual length that it to be collected, an individual interest rate. All of that will be spelled out by the state. We will have, the state is going to give us all of the information. I've worked very closely with other tax collectors and our software provider so that we will have software that will be able to handle this type of thing. I don't see it as a big problem, and the state has also said that they will pay a certain amount per property to the town for the tax collector's expense. And right now, that amount is set at $500, I think, per property per year, from the last time I talked to Jessica.
Representative Braun, do you have any other follow-up?
If the tax collector doesn't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it, except that the $500 is not written in here. I assume there will be other side agreements or something that will help to effectuate this. This is the agreement that would be signed, and this is what I'm looking at. It doesn't really provide for any payment other than giving us back money that we paid to Betsy for recording the notices and the liens. So I would assume if there's a $500 payment, it would be written somewhere else. It's not in this, so.
Right. I think that's part of an agreement that can be made with the town. I know that they had said up to $500. And so, yes, the liens will be filed in the town clerks. The other thing that's different than what was originally talked about is the CPACE bill will be an individual bill by itself. It won't be part of your real estate bill, because as a tax collector, our concern was if somebody made a partial payment, who gets the money? Does the town get the money, or does CPACE get the money? I want to make sure the town gets the money. So the CPACE will have its own bill so that there won't be any discussion on that. Okay? Thank you. You're welcome.
I think it's a good program, and I think the questions I have are pretty minimal, so I definitely am in favor of this. Thank you.
Representative Bateson?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ed Bateson, District 3. Through you to the town attorney, I just want to make sure that you've reviewed the agreement and that the terms in it are favorable to the town, and you have no objection to the first selectman and the town entering the agreement.
I have reviewed the agreement, and I've also discussed it with the tax collector, and I have no problem with it. I think it's actually a good program. I don't know how many people are going to take advantage of it, but I think it's a minimal, time for the town. I have no problem with this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any comments from the public? Item number 16. Okay, we're going to come back to the body for a vote. All those in favor of item number 16 say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Item passes unanimously. Thank you for your help, too. Item number 17, to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Finance. Resolved that in accordance with a recommendation from the Director of Public Works, the Town of Fairfield does hereby appropriate $1.3 million towards the cost of creating a microgrid to serve fire headquarters, police headquarters, the cell phone tower at 100 Reef Road, ECC, and Operation Hope, and further resolve that the First Selectman be and hereby is authorized to accept and expend a grant from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, Protection, in the amount of $1,167,659, that's $1,167,659, to pay a portion of the cost of such appropriation. The town's share of this project is to be funded from the current 2013-2014 contingency account, and further resolve that the First Selectman be and hereby is authorized to execute on behalf of the town of Fairfield any and all not necessary document to secure such grant. I could have used Jan on that one. I'm joking. I know, I'm just teasing. Gotta lighten the moment a little bit. All those in favor? Boom. See, when I get off on a joke and a tangent, it kills me. Do I have a motion to approve? Representative Garskoff, a second. Representative Ferentz. Now, discussion among the body. Representative Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. David Becker, District 1. I don't really think there's much question-wise here, unless, First Selectman or the, I don't have anybody from Public Works. So I'm going to vote to approve this evening, but I would say that I expressed this in committee meetings that I was a bit concerned about pouring more money into basically two structures that are sitting basically in the outskirts of a flood zone that will eventually be fully in that zone. I think that we saw how close the water has come now twice, knowing that as these storms come more frequently and stronger storms, that over time, I don't see how fire and PD even being in those locations are really going to be a good idea, let alone calling those our primary emergency command center location. So it seems to me like we're sort of throwing good money kind of just to stop a hole for a while, when long-term those funds probably should be going towards some other location, something along those lines. I know we're not quite ready for that yet, but it concerns me that this is in a facility that very closely in Sandy ended up, I mean, within blocks of being on, having water come pouring in. The other thing that concerns me on this is the single fuel versus dual fuel. I understand we had an email that came through the moderator from Public Works today, kind of discussing why natural gas is unlikely to have a problem, but we have seen some issues in some of these storms, especially when it goes underwater. You run the risk, and by taking away what we have now with the diesel and moving those somewhere else, we really have nothing if the natural gas goes out. So I would have liked to have seen, if we were really going to try to hunker down this location and we were going to go there, to have at least done some sort of a dual fuel option. You don't even have to house it there. You can bring it in as needed. It doesn't have to necessarily be diesel. It can be propane. There's a couple different options. A lot of people do this in their houses and businesses. So I'm a little concerned about that, but I mean, on the other hand, obviously, we have to deal with what we have, and we are getting a lot of state funds, which I guess would go to another municipality if we didn't jump on it soon. So kind of puts you in a pretty difficult spot here. So I'm going to vote to approve it, but I would hope that we would try, moving forward to maybe, come up with a kind of longer-term plan there and have this not happen where we're pouring so much money into facilities that I think everyone sort of knows long-term are going to be a problem because of the flooding. So, thank you.
Representative Bateson.
Ed Bateson, District 3. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to follow up on Representative Becker's. I agree. This, I like the idea of taking the state funds and getting this project going. I am questioning the wisdom of the location and what we're doing. I know government has a tendency for redundancy, and I see that here. We already have backup systems at these 2 locations, 3 locations. They seem to work in Sandy. I do want us to start thinking more along the lines of, preparing the town, not just the infrastructure, but its residents. I mean, not for nothing, I was without power for a long time in Sandy, and it started to get cold. If we have one of these events in the middle of the wintertime, I mean, I could easily foresee us needing to shelter, 4,000 to 10,000 people. If we get rid of this generator down there, I'd like to, start thinking about expanding it or moving it up to the campus, the Ludlow campus. We just got to start thinking this way. I mean, really, if we have no power in town for 30 days, the police aren't going to do us any good. I mean, we really have to keep, start focusing on the residents of the town, not just the infrastructure. So I'd really like it, that generator, consider relocating it up there, maybe refitting one of the high schools or something. I don't want to turn down the state money. We're way deep into this process, so I'm going to support it. But, if another grant like this comes up, start thinking about the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. To help with some of those, one, we do have a generator at the Ludlow Shelter facility currently. We used that last time. As I was pointing out to somebody earlier today, there are 2 questions you need to ask in a situation like this. And the first question is, does the building have a generator? Ludlow does. The second question, does it run the whole building? What we found out during Storm Sandy is it didn't. And consequently, only the heat in part of the shelter worked. The heat in the gyms did not work because that circuit was not hooked up to the generator. The heat in the cafeteria did. So literally towards the end of the week, as we were letting people move back into their homes, the ones that needed to come back in for heat were moved into the cafeteria. So the fix, if you will, for that is we're reworking the circuitry so that the Ludlow generator works more of the building and provides the resources we need for that. Second, we have right now a generator at the police station, but it's not on natural gas. It's on diesel. It's won't operate for more than a few days. One of the requirements of this funding or this project is that you have a 30-day supply of fuel, 30-day, and they define that natural gas meets that requirement for what they are. I think that there's no question things are changing. Right now, we're trying to address a number of the flood issues and flood mitigation issues in the beach area and other parts. The Greater Bridgeport Regional Plan group was here. They're working on a plan. As much as we talk about flooding the beach area, when we held our workshop and we had 30 stakeholders from around town for 2 different half-day sessions participate in this, and we dealt with the town. We didn't deal with just the beach area. Certainly there was a lot of focus on that, and that's where a lot of the issues were. But we talked about river plains all the way through what happens if the Lake Mohegan Dam breaks, what happens if the St. Morta Dam breaks, what happens if one of the Easton Reservoir dams break, and we have to account for that kind of flooding coming through, what happens in that case. So we talked through a lot of that. It was a very healthy exercise. And there's no easy answers to those. And certainly picking up our police and fire stations and moving them to someplace else is a very expensive operation all the way through. Doesn't mean we shouldn't think about it, certainly from a longer-term planning standpoint. As somebody said the same thing, reporter called up right after Irene and said, "Did you realize that your wastewater treatment plant is so close to the ocean?" The answer is yes. Certain things flow downhill. That doesn't mean it's not an issue. It's certainly an issue we have in our town. It's an issue that virtually every town along the eastern seaboard has. And it's a larger issue than perhaps we can solve, and a larger issue perhaps we can solve in the next few years. But it's something we have to think about. So there are certain long-term issues here that we definitely have to get our arms around and look at them both from a planning standpoint, but also a how do you pay for them standpoint. So I think the question's a very good one. I think that there's no question that in our future we have to come back and address those. In the short term, as part of our work with the university, you may have seen the press release that was done where we set up a backup EOC with the help and specifically design and planning help of students at Fairfield University. That was tested out, and that would be our, one of our first backups in terms of moving, if we needed to move our Emergency Operations Command out of police headquarters to higher ground, if you will. So I hope that helps.
What about Ward? Is there anything at the Ward?
Ward's a shelter. I believe they have a generator up there too. Jeff, I'd have to confirm that. There, as we look at what took place in the operations, it at one point logically made sense. Hey, we'll have a shelter at Ludlow. Our second shelter would be at Ward. One of the questions in working with the school district is they suggested maybe we put the second shelter at Ludlow Middle School so that from a management standpoint, we're closer together and it makes it easier for us to do that. So that's one of the things that's under consideration now.
Any other questions? Any comments from the public? Okay, we're going to vote on item number 17. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes unanimously. Item number 18, to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Finance. Resolved that in accordance with the request from the Director of Public Works, the First Selectman be and hereby is authorized to accept a grant from the United Illuminating Company in the amount of $15,000 from the company's Bright Ideas program, and further resolved that the First Selectman be and hereby is authorized to expend the $15,000 towards the cost of a wireless energy management system for Independence Hall, and further resolved that the First Selectman be and hereby is authorized to execute on behalf of the town of Fairfield any and all necessary documents that facilitate the town's participation in United Illuminating's Bright Ideas grant program. May I have a motion to approve? Representative Hochberg, a second. Representative Schwartz. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Any comments from the public? We're now going to vote on item number 18. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? This item passes unanimously, too. This is unbelievable. This is record pace for the amount of items we've gone through. No, I'm not. Yeah, right, we got senior tax relief coming. Let's see. Item number 19. To hear, consider, and act upon amendments to the tax relief for the elderly and disabled homeowners ordinance, Section 95-7 to Section 95-15.4 of Chapter 95, Article 3 of the Code of the Town of Fairfield, sponsored by the Elderly and Disabled Homeowners Tax Relief Ordinance Committee. May I have a motion to approve? Representative Patton, a second. Representative Abercrombie. Do we have discussion? Representative McCarthy.
All right. Tom McCarthy, District 8. What we have here is essentially we're putting the amendment to the tax, to Article 3 of the tax relief for elderly and disabled homeowners back the way it was a year ago. What had happened, as many of you, probably most of you recall, at the end of 2012, it came to the surface, there were concerns as to the collectability of deferrals. And at that point in time, we didn't understand or fully understand what the concern was, but there was enough, until we had our arms around it, we didn't feel it was appropriate to go forward with expanding the current program. So we essentially put the brakes on that option within the tax relief program and proceeded only with the expansion of the credit. Now, since that time, as I mentioned, the concerns have been resolved. Cinda, to her credit, figured out what the concern was in terms of collectability, went back, went through the records, bulletproofed our liens, and we are all now comfortable that we can collect once again for liens as long as they're written within the context of tax relief and not tax deferral. So what we have here is an expansion of the program, specifically the deferral option, whereby seniors could defer up to 1/2 of their tax, as opposed to the way the deferral is currently written, whereby seniors could defer incremental tax over and above a base year. So this represents a nice expansion of the program. Now, having said that, no senior has come up to me in the last 2 years and specifically asked for an enriched deferral program. The reason we have this is for those seniors who have come to us and said, well, I can no longer afford to live in the town of Fairfield because my taxes are too high. We don't expect significant participation in this program. There's not currently significant participation. Going through the numbers, the estimate is that currently there were 17 participations in the deferral program as it stands. Just looking at Darien-Ann's, who has a program similar to what we're now outlining, they had 17 participants. In speaking to other tax departments around the state who have a richer deferral program, we hear the same thing. The lien becomes a deal breaker for the tax for the homeowner. So we don't expect this is going to be a broadly used program. We expect just the opposite. Everything we've heard from the seniors in Fairfield, from seniors elsewhere, that they want a tax credit. The reason we have this, again, it's a last resort. So we have something with which to respond to seniors who say they can't live here. Here's the way they can do it, and that's all it is. Now, just running through the numbers, last month, as I mentioned, Hal, I thought it would land somewhere between 100,000 and 150. Sharpening my pencil, I think that's a little bit broader, just shy of 200,000 by closer analysis. That said, that's well underneath the ceiling we have on the program. Now, Don Ross, if you were to ask him, is concerned about what would happen if we reach that ceiling. I'm comfortable enough that we won't come anywhere close to the ceiling, that I can stand up to you and say, I support it. But I'm not going to say I can't predict the future with 100% certainty. Again, I say, but I don't think it's something it's a concern. Now, if it were to hit the ceiling, proration would happen, and that would be a very, very difficult process for Don Ross's shop to administer. And he doesn't, at this point in time, even have the software to do it. So therein lies the risk. I don't believe it's a financial risk. I believe it potentially is administrative risk, where there'll be potentially some broken glass were that to happen. I don't think it will. I plan to support it. And I think the other members of the committee feel the same way. Before I sit down, I'd like to thank every member of the committee one last time for all their work, which turned out to be a 2-year project, much to everyone's surprise, including my own. Cinda for all her work in taking care of digging through the deferral program and putting it back together again, and Don Ross for just being a tremendous wealth of knowledge and reminding us of all the things we'd already resolved, and he came back and he was at every meeting and kept us on course, and again, such a tremendous wealth of knowledge to help us through it. So thank you all. I plan to support it.
Tom, can you just stay there for 1 second? The town attorney brought up a point, just however minor or major, but in the item it says to section 95-15.4. Did you not want that to just simply be to 95-15, so it includes all of 15? Because there really isn't a 15.4. There's a A4, but I think you mean to include all of A, B, and C. So just therefore 95-15.
Are you at 9511? It's a total amount can be deferred under 9515.
I'm looking at the item as listed on the warning. The resolution.
Oh.
Sorry. It says, it's probably just a typo or some sort of whatever. Section 95-7 to section 95-15.4. You probably just want that to say 95-15, right?
Then you'd kill the whole thing.
It includes it, actually. Yeah, it would have to. Yeah. It simply includes all of 95-15, not
Correct.
just 15.4, which does not exist.
Right. Okay.
It's just a simple typo.
Yeah, I'm yeah, okay.
Technicality, but we should approve that because
As long as
there's...
the source document's correct.
Yeah. No, it's very simple. It's just a technicality. Just want to be clear that we want to someone should make that amendment so that we're approving exactly the change. Good catch.
Well, since I'm up at the mic, let me make that amendment then.
Okay.
Okay? 15 instead of 15-4.
Okay, do I have a second? Representative Fellner, and we're good on that. Discussion on the amendment to change it to 95-15. No discussion. Comments from the public? All those in favor of just changing that to simply read 95-15 instead of 95-15.4? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Now we're back to the way we had intended it to be. Thank you for your comment. We'll leave off from there. Are there any other discussion on this or questions? Representative Patton.
I'm also height challenged. Mark Patton, District 7. Actually, I was not able to be at last month's meeting where the full body discussed this, and I think it was in the minutes. Amy Mezoff on 9515B subparagraph or subsection 3, there was a difference of an and versus an or. If anyone could clarify it's where it says percentage rate of 3% and the rate on a 10-year United States Treasury notes. Was that right? So it's in there as and. I think it was Amy who questioned, should it be or? But in this version, it's still and. Can somebody tell me what the result was of that query? The version you have says or, Stanton? Because the one in our packet says and.
Does anyone know the history or recall the history? Tom, do you, anybody? I can't pull that part from my memory.
which because that is actually a mathematical difference. Right, so it should be or. My question is was it changed before, or do we just have a wrong copy?
Well, it was changed, and then therefore the version put in, I don't know. The version you got. Yes. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so it's possible, a hard copy was not put in the packet because I think we're still using. Representative Mezov? Yeah, I mean,
if it's already changed in
I
the
thi-
official documentation, then that's
Right.
fine. We don't need that. But I just want to make sure that it was. What's the? Does Betsy have one that would have been filed? So okay.
There's just a version issue. Tom, you remember changing it. I see it here on the crossed-out version. The minutes show that we have made it or, right? We've approved or. So it's a version issue.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it is all going to be codified. Representative Mazzoff, do you want to come up and make a motion or speak to anything? I mean, it's official. I think we're all set. I do.
Okay, that was my only question. While I'm up here, I will certainly speak in favor of this. Certainly, it's been quite a 2-year stretch here on the normally 1-year committee, but I'll echo Tom's sentiments and thank Don and Cinda for coming to all our meetings, all their hard work, all their questioning of processes and what can we do and what can't we do, and again the wealth of knowledge was just incredible. Again, thanks to, hope I don't forget anybody, Tom, Sheila, Bill, Carol, the Carolyn, who is no longer with us, and I'm missing one person, and Eric, I'm sorry, Eric, for again all our hard. And yes, all your spouses for all the extra meetings that they allowed you to go to. At any rate, yes, seniors, did approach us at various meetings, and even around town when this was going on, about how can we stay here, and this is the answer to that question. And we did say that we would bring this back before this term, and I would appreciate everyone's support to kind of get this through and finish what we started. Thanks.
thank you. Any other comments or questions, discussion from the body? Any comments from the public? Okay, we're now going to vote on this item, and thank you again, Mark and Tom and everyone else involved in this long but important process. So thank you all. So we're now going to vote on this item, number 19, the amended version of tax relief for the elderly and disabled homeowners ordinance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Representative Schwartz. Abstentions? Abstention or opposed? Abstention. Representative McCall. My understanding it will be codified correctly, so. Okay, abstention, Representative Mezzoff and McCullough. The item passes. Thank you. So now we move on to the last item, which is item number 20, to consider and act upon any other matters presented to said meeting and which may be properly acted upon under the rules of representative town meeting. The next meeting which will also be the last meeting of this current RTM session, will be Monday, October 28th at 8 p.m. here, Board of Education headquarters. May I have a motion to adjourn? Representative McAleese, second Representative Smay. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Representative Sonneman. Thank you all.